Hi, I'm John Pios, and welcome to U.S. History Breakdown on a Budget.
Mr. Pios, what will be today's discussion?
Today, we will be talking about the Quartering Act of 1765.
Is it the act where it required to house the British soldiers and pay for their supplies?
Wait, let me get to the better location first. Yes, so on March 24th, 1765, the British Parliament passed the Quartering Act. It was one of a series of measures that helped generate revenue from British colonies in America. During the 7 Years' War, or French and Indian War, British commanders in North America found it difficult to persuade uncooperative colonists to pay for the cost of housing and provisions to the soldiers that were deployed in the colonies to fight the French and their Indian allies. When the war ended, however, the king's advisors decided that some British troops should remain in the colonies. The war left Britain in debt, so they believed that the colonies should pay their share of the cost and house the soldiers. Okay, so if the colonists' places were too small, the locals were forced to house soldiers in places like small inns or stables. And also, another reason why this act was placed is because the British felt as if they were losing control over the American colonies, and they thought the colonies were uprising. So, in order to prevent this, they sent their troops over to take control.
Okay, I understand this, but what was the reaction of the colonists, Mr. Pios?
Do any of you guys know how to do number 4? It's kind of like about two triangles or whatever.
We're trying to talk about the Quartering Act of 1765.
Oh, we are? Why? What? Since when?
That's why we're here.
Totally. Yeah. What's your question again?
What was the colonists' reaction to the act?
Catherine. He's asking you a question about some kind of colonist reaction to some quartering act.
Quartering act?
I think so.
Okay, let me search it up. Oh, on this website, I found that the colonists were very outraged since not only they had to house the British soldiers, but because they had to pay for their supplies such as food, beer, bedding, and more. They also felt that the act violated the 1689 English Bill of Rights, which forbid taxation.
Yeah, I totally got that.
Wait, also, didn't the colonists also hate the act because they felt as if a standing army was unnecessary during a time of peace? Even though this act was for all the colonies, New York was the one that felt the most resentment to it, since they thought it was unfair for them to pay the British Army. Now, after this incident with New York, the colonies remained provoked, bitter, and started questioning the intentions of the British. The Quartering Act was amended in 1774. It was one reason as to why the American Revolution began.
So let's recap. Great Britain was in debt after the French and Indian War and therefore thought that the colonies should play their part by housing British troops in the colonies. The colonies did not like this because they were not represented in Parliament and therefore had no say in this act. As a result, the colonies that did refuse to follow the act were punished by Parliament. Eventually, the tensions between Great Britain and the colonies caused by the Quartering Act of 1765 would ultimately be a reason to the start of the American Revolution. Alright guys, before we go, special thanks to Mr. Hallett and Mr. K for letting us record these scenes in their classrooms.
Wait, what happened if the assault... what happened with the assault?
Assault?
Assault!
What happened to the asshole?